The measured response from the Prime Minister this Thursday night on how to tackle the U.S. president's tariff threat.
Everything's on the table.
And what are the premiers signaling about how far they're prepared to go? Mounting anxiety in B.C., what could complicate the fight against wildfires?
It was an awful situation. Everybody was panicking. Both sides of the mountain are on fire.
And the race in Europe to save people in the path of raging flames. Relocation resolution, where 6 belugas from Marineland have ended up, and what advocates are worried about. Plus, an extraordinary career full of high notes.
He's one of the best musicians that this country produced.
Remembering renowned Canadian jazz legend Oliver Jones.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Canada's Prime Minister and the country's premiers are sending a message that they are steadfast and united in the face of the latest threat from the U.S. president to impose punitive tariffs, a threat Prime Minister Mark Carney calls unwarranted.
Canadian governments around this table will do whatever it takes to defend and support our families, our workers, and our businesses.
Carney also claims Canada is in a stronger position now than when Trump launched the trade war 18 months ago, and that his government is putting together a trade network beyond the U.S. that is the envy of the world. He's promised to intensify negotiations with the Trump administration. What does that mean? What leverage does Canada have? David Akin is at the Premier's meeting in Charlottetown.
Everything's on the table if there's no agreement, depending on the outcome of the negotiations, yes.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he'll bring in punishing new tariffs within a month. Prime Minister Mark Carney hopes that can be avoided, but in the meantime, Canada will accelerate trade diversification, set up programs to help sectors that could be hurt by new tariffs, and perhaps consider counter tariffs. But Carney declined to provide many details.
If these tariffs or other measures come into force, there's a full range of things that we can do in that regard. We don't need to respond in advance. In fact, I think it would be counterproductive at this stage to respond in advance.
Some premiers want to push back hard on Trump.
We're a strong country, we're a sovereign country, and we need to fight tooth and nail. We can't fight on our back foot all the time. We have to take the offense.
Ontario's Doug Ford wants dollar-for-dollar counter tariffs, but other premiers want to dial down the heat. Alberta's premier, for example, says she's bullish that negotiations will work as Republicans try to rebuild support ahead of this fall's midterm elections.
Of all of the policies that the Trump administration has put forward, the least popular one is tariffs on Canada. And so how come that has emerged as an issue? It's because consumers are feeling it. It's because elected representatives are feeling it. They're making their views known, and it's moving the public opinion.
But Carney and many other world leaders are also grappling with this question. How can you sign a deal with a U.S. president who time and again breaks his word?
The team has to be convinced, the premiers have to be convinced that an agreement is worth the paper it's written on.
The PM and the premiers are also agreed on this point, that provinces have to do more to lower interprovincial trade barriers, and they all must find more export markets, all in an attempt to reduce Canada's dependence on the U.S. economy and on an unpredictable U.S. president. Donna.
Okay, David Akin in Charlottetown, thank you. Canada is not alone. Trump is going after 60 other countries, announcing today a new round of tariffs to replace the ones he imposed earlier that are set to expire tomorrow. This time, the Trump administration is claiming forced labor in supply chains as the justification. The U.S. Supreme Court rejected Trump's first attempt to impose them by claiming it was a national emergency. Canada is now among 17 nations that face a baseline 10% tariff, including Mexico and the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister admitted today he could have done a better job of explaining the deal Canada has made with the Trump administration over the Gordie Howe Bridge. The U.S. President demanded new terms be agreed before that bridge between Windsor, Ontario and Detroit, Michigan, which Canada paid for, can open. Carney said today the underlying agreement with Michigan, signed in 2012, remains in place and contains no splitting of tolls until all of Canada's debt from building the bridge is repaid. But under a second parallel agreement, he says there is sharing of net revenues after operating expenses.
The combination of that agreement and the sharing under that, it is a very marginal impact on the overall economics. Okay, very marginal, because it takes time for traffic to ramp up, there's various costs, there's various sharing, it gets fed back in. And to put it in order of magnitude, it's less than 5% in present value of the overall cost of developing the bridge.
Next week, a House of Commons committee is set to debate a request from opposition members to investigate the terms of that agreement. In BC, wildfires are threatening multiple communities. People in Boston Bar, Kimberley and Clinton are facing either evacuation orders or alerts. The fires are moving fast, fueled by hot and dry conditions. 2 of the 3 main highways in BC's interior are closed for a second day. Sarah MacDonald is in Kamloops, where many of the evacuees are staying.
Donna, it's been another stressful and anxious day in this part of the province, especially for evacuees. This wind is not helping matters this evening. Even a safe distance from the threat of those flames, you can see what that smoke is doing to the air. It's impossible to escape the smoke in south-central British Columbia.
It's bad, very bad.
And in the Fraser Canyon, you don't have to go far to find flames. New fires igniting Thursday, even as rain brought relief to a region that desperately needs it. The village of Boston Bar now surrounded by flames. Fire erupting with explosive force on Tuesday, forcing residents to pack up and get out.
Everybody was panicking. Both sides of the mountain are on fire.
Premier David Eby addressing the situation from Atlantic Canada, urging anyone who's still staying behind to leave.
Please leave the community. It's not safe for you to stay.
With the complete closure of 2 highways, including the Trans-Canada blocking southbound travel, evacuees are now scattered to the north in Kamloops and to the east in the Nicola Valley.
And I can't even see the mountains at the moment.
Where the air is thick with ash.
It just was unbearable, like I was choking.
Separate out-of-control fires cornering Kimberley in the Kootenays and Clinton in the Thompson-Nicola region, where the 59 Creek fire has destroyed more than a dozen structures in Big Bar Lake. As scorching temperatures finally begin to break, lightning and winds could complicate the province's firefight, with thousands left waiting and watching.
It's very close to town.
Hoping they have a home to return to. And those evacuation orders continue to expand tonight, Donna. Of particular concern is that 59 Creek fire burning just northwest of us here in Kamloops, where more properties and more residents were ordered to evacuate just a few hours ago.
Okay, Sarah MacDonald in Kamloops, BC, thanks. All the smoke is creating unhealthy air quality in much of Western Canada. Environment Canada has issued air quality warnings along with heat warnings for much of BC and the prairies. And as Heather Urix West explains, the hot and smoky conditions could last for a long stretch.
And already in a couple of minutes, it's risen to about 27.5.
A warning for pet owners ahead of a heat wave. Hot cars can kill.
In a matter of minutes, the temperature within a vehicle can rise to dangerous levels, making it unsafe for animals left in that vehicle.
After setting rain records in June, Edmonton is under a heat warning, with temperatures expected to soar past 30 degrees. Calgary, too, with forecasters warning the heat right across the prairies won't be cooling down anytime soon.
In some areas, especially in the southern prairies, the southern interior, we're looking at daytime highs staying in the 30s potentially for the rest of the month. So this is going to be a prolonged streak of hot air.
For those hosting outdoor events like the Calgary Folk Festival, weather conditions are top of mind, with the sun this weekend coming with a side of smoke.
Last year, we purchased some purple air monitors, so we are going to have hyper-local data right here on Prince's Island Park. We're constantly monitoring what's going on around us to ensure that we can give people accurate and ample time to make decisions for themselves.
Both heat and poor air quality come with risks to our health, but experts warn when the two happen at the same time, those health impacts compound.
Heat affects how we think, it affects our brain function, it affects our heart and lungs. We have to work harder. And poor air quality also makes our heart and lungs mostly work harder as well. So when you add those two things together, you're increasing the risk.
I think we'll kind of stay indoors where we can, but kind of have short breaks outside.
We're from Ottawa, so honestly, we're used to the heat, and we've had the smell of smoke has been stronger in Ottawa from the Ontario fires.
But a relatively moderate start to the summer's fire season for Alberta in particular could soon change, with July set to go out with a scorching streak of sun. Heather Yurex, West Global News, Calgary.
Canada is not the only place in the thick of a wildfire fight. Italy, France, and Spain are all dealing with fierce fires that have killed 3 firefighters, and thousands of people have had to flee, including about 10,000 in southwestern France. Europe has been sweltering under multiple heat waves this summer, creating perfect conditions for fires, as Redmond Shannon reports.
A holiday paradise along France's Atlantic coast that is now a no-go zone. Thousands of people have fled this area near Bordeaux as this summer's latest forest fire in France is fueled by heat and wind. This woman says they spent all night outside the village hall. She says it was so scary to see the fire come so close to their home before they fled. 2 firefighters died working at a nearby blaze on Tuesday. The local chief says the drought conditions are worse than in 2022, which saw huge wildfires in the area. France says the trusty Canadair water bombers aren't enough this year. It hopes to convert one of these large transporters to firefight by the end of the month. In central Spain, fire devours more woodland, with little anyone can do. The civil guard had to go door to door to rescue the vulnerable and those who were just unaware of how quickly the flames were approaching. There are other wildfires across the Mediterranean, in Sicily, Turkey, and Algeria. Last month was the hottest June on record for Western Europe. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says his country has to be prepared for the new reality of 40-degree heat waves. For now, all that those affected by these fires can do is hope and pray. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Authorities in Ontario have announced one of the biggest drug busts in that province's history. Nearly 1.7 tons of illegal drugs were seized, including cocaine, methamphetamine, and opioids, with an estimated street value of more than $139 million. Police say it was a cross-border drug trafficking network. The investigation, dubbed Project Bay, was initiated by Windsor Police and the Canada Border Services Agency early last year. 17 firearms were also seized, including an anti-tank rifle. 21 people are facing more than 100 charges. In Manitoba, the body of one of 2 missing boys missing at a lake in Whiteshell Provincial Park has been recovered. The body of 10-year-old Maximo O. Ramirez was discovered Wednesday night. The search continues for his 13-year-old brother Aaron. Police say the brothers were walking along the shoreline Saturday when Maximo slipped on the rocks and fell into the fast-moving rapids. His brother jumped in to rescue him. Both were caught in the current and were washed down the falls. The war in the Middle East widens. Coming up, what's fueling the conflict and what the U.S. president is now threatening. The U.S. president keeps talking tough about the war he started with Iran, claiming he's willing to keep escalating attacks. At the same time, Iran-backed Houthi rebels are attacking Saudi tankers in the Red Sea. With no sign of de-escalation, oil prices have spiked again. Brent crude surpassed $100 U.S. a barrel for the first time in months. As Jackson Prosco reports, American fatigue with the war is also growing.
The U.S. struck a critical border crossing between Iran and Iraq as the Pentagon moved more bombers and aircraft to the Middle East, all while U.S. President Donald Trump is said to be weighing aggressive new strikes against Iran, larger than at any prior point in the war.
The price will continue to get higher every single night until they come to their senses.
The Americans claim Iran desperately wants to make a deal. Tehran keeps signaling otherwise.
The problem is, every time these people do a deal, they either break it or after they make it, they want to change the deal.
Now Iran's proxies, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, have joined the fight. They struck 2 Saudi oil tankers Thursday adding a second maritime blockade to the Red Sea that further imperils global oil shipments.
And so this is going to make it harder for the world economy to adjust, and gives a little bit more leverage to Iran in the process.
On social media, Trump warned if the attacks on ships continue, major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran and, of course, the Houthis.
The concurrent resolution is adopted.
In Washington, U.S. lawmakers pushed back. For a second time, Democrats and several Republicans in the House voted to limit Trump's war powers.
I think that this is a message that of both the depravity and wrongheadedness of going into Iran, upending the global economy.
But now there's no clear way out. Both sides are locked in a stalemate over who will control the Strait of Hormuz.
There is no shared negotiating space between Iran and the United States.
Months into the conflict, Trump may be the one who's most desperate for a deal. The Iranians have made it clear they're in no rush to make that happen. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
A day after announcing a landmark nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia, the U.S. president has added a new condition he is demanding Saudi agree to. Donald Trump now says the agreement is contingent on the kingdom normalizing relations with Israel. Trump says Saudi Arabia must join the Abraham Accords, a series of agreements signed between Arab states and Israel during the president's first term. Saudi Arabia has said in the past it will not join those accords unless there is a pathway towards Palestinian statehood. Airlift operation as Marineland's belugas are sent south. There's concern about their future. The first beluga whales from Ontario's Marineland have now arrived at their new homes. 6 belugas were taken from Marineland in Niagara Falls to aquariums in Chicago and San Antonio this week. About 24 others are still waiting to be moved, though advocates believe there's little to celebrate about the relocations, as Eric Sorensen explains.
It sounds like a happy beluga, now at SeaWorld in San Antonio, Texas, where 2 young males will have to adapt to a new setting.
How we feed them might be a little bit different. The sounds in the pool that are coming from the other whales might be something that they're not used to. They're used to their groups. Now they're learning new friends.
It caps a remarkable week that began in Niagara Falls with the dramatic lifting and transporting and flying of whales that can weigh 3,000 to 4,000 pounds while being kept alive in cold water containers. 4 others were brought to the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, a genuine success for the staff that pulled it off. Marineland in Niagara Falls had threatened to euthanize 30 belugas in what had become a long, sorry spectacle.
We've got belugas, walruses, and sea lions too.
For decades, Marineland was one of the most popular tourist attractions in the country. But public attitudes changed as animal welfare groups raised awareness over the treatment of mammals like whales and dolphins that led to a ban on their captivity and breeding in this country.
Keeping whales in tiny tanks where they're forced to swim in circles for their entire lives is, frankly, animal cruelty under our criminal code at this point.
A ceremony was held in Nova Scotia last month for what's hoped will be a 40-hectare whale sanctuary. But there is local opposition, and it's a long way from completion. So the Canadian belugas are being shipped out without assurances, say advocates, from Ottawa or the aquariums that they won't still be used for breeding.
We are exporting our whale jail problem to the States, and we are condemning future baby belugas to be bred into a life in captivity, which we no longer wanted for them in Canada.
The remaining 24 belugas in Niagara Falls are to be sent to other aquariums in the United States and to one in Spain. But while Canada is getting out of the business, the question is whether belugas from this country will reproduce new generations of whales in captivity. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
He tickled the ivories for nearly 9 decades. Next, remembering Canadian jazz legend Oliver Jones. The world has lost a jazz giant. Montreal's Oliver Jones was a master of the piano. His career spanned nearly 9 decades, and he helped countless people along the way. Oliver Jones died Wednesday after a long illness. He was 91 years old. Dan Spector reports on a talented and kind soul who left his mark on multiple generations.
These hands made Oliver Jones one of the most celebrated musicians in Canadian history, his storied career lasting close to a century.
He could play 1,000 notes in a minute and never a false note.
He was born in 1934 and raised in Montreal's Little Burgundy neighborhood, known back then as the Harlem of the North. It had a vibrant black community and a dynamic music scene. People flocked here during the Prohibition years in the U.S.
If you constantly practice and explore things, yes, you can make it.
Before filling theaters across Canada and around the world, Jones started playing piano at 5 years old. One of his key teachers was Daisy Peterson Sweeney, sister of fellow Montreal jazz giant Oscar Peterson.
I was extremely shy as a youngster, and but I was able to speak with her.
Oliver is sincere about what he does musically. It comes directly from the source, whether it's the heart or the soul or the passion. It's indescribable.
His ability to improvise, let the notes flow through his fingers, helped him take home a constellation of awards. He was a Juno winner, an officer of the Order of Canada, a member of the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, among many other accolades.
He's one of the best musicians that this country produced.
Alain Simard watched Jones delight countless audiences with his talent, but was struck by how the piano master always remained modest.
He wouldn't be grateful, thank me, like if his success was because of me or the jazz festival. No, it's your talent, Oliver.
Like his teacher, Daisy Peterson Sweeney, Jones always went out of his way to help the next generation. Those close to him say his legacy will live on through the countless musicians he mentored and encouraged.
And that is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Leduc, Alberta. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching. Jeff Semple will be at the anchor desk tomorrow, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.